the move that changed everything. Tony Romo's future at CBS may have changed in one brutal moment, and the most dangerous part is that nobody inside the network is saying what comes next. After days of silence, CBS confirmed that Romo was stepping away from his role until further notice. While J. Watt moved into position beside Jim Nantz and Tracy Wolfson, that was not a routine adjustment. It was a warning shot. For years, Romo had been one of football's most recognizable voices. The former Cowboys quarterback who could read a defense before the snap and tell viewers what was coming. But, according to the report, his image was already under pressure. Critics questioned his preparation, fans complained about mistakes. Executives had reportedly tried to rein in his style. Then came the Wisconsin traffic stop, the body camera footage, the citations, and scrutiny CBS could no longer ignore. Now the network is trapped between reputation and money. Romo reportedly holds a massive contract through 2030, so removing him permanently could trigger an expensive legal fight. But keeping him in the top booth could create an even bigger public relations problem. CBS chose the coldest middle ground. No firing announcement. No detailed defense. Just a leave of absence and a trusted replacement waiting in the chair. And that replacement matters. J. Watt is not an unknown backup. He is a respected former superstar, and a broadcaster CBS has been developing. If Watt connects with viewers and builds chemistry with Nantz, Romo may discover that the biggest threat to his career is not the headline, it is how quickly the show can move on without him. So what do you think? Is this only a temporary pause? Or are we watching Tony Romo lose control of his CBS future in real time? Tell us where you are watching from. Press 1 if you believe Romo will return to the #1 booth. Or press 2 if you think J. Watt is about to take over. Subscribe to the channel, because the next chapter reveals why CBS stayed silent for 8 straight days. 8 days of silence. For 8 straight days, CBS said almost nothing. No detailed statement. No public defense. No explanation from the executives who had spent years presenting Tony Romo as the face of their NFL coverage. In the world of sports television, silence that long is rarely accidental. It usually means lawyers are reviewing contracts, public relations teams are measuring public anger, and executives are trying to find the least damaging path forward. Behind closed doors, CBS had to answer several dangerous questions at once. Could Romo remain in the lead booth while the reported legal matter was unresolved? Would sponsors or viewers push back? Could the network remove him without triggering a massive contract dispute? And perhaps most importantly, was J. Watt ready to step into the role if the situation became worse? Then the network finally released a short statement saying Romo was on leave until further notice. The wording was cold, controlled, and deliberately limited. CBS did not say he had been fired. It did not explain whether the leave was voluntary. It did not promise that he would return. Every missing detail created another question. That uncertainty gave the announcement its power. Fans immediately began debating whether the network was protecting Romo, punishing him, or quietly testing life without him. The decision to place Watt near the top broadcast team made the situation even more serious. CBS was not simply removing one voice, it was preparing another, and while the public focused on the statement, the real story was unfolding somewhere else inside contract meetings, legal reviews, and private conversations that nobody outside the company could hear. The silence had finally ended, but CBS had revealed only enough to make the mystery bigger. The night everything changed. The crisis began on a Wisconsin highway, where a routine traffic stop reportedly turned into the most damaging night of Tony Romo's broadcasting career. According to the sample report, officers stopped the former Cowboys quarterback after observing his driving. What followed was recorded, documented, and later pushed into the public eye. Romo reportedly told the officer that he was returning from a golf event and denied drinking. The officer, however, described signs that raised suspicion and asked him to complete field sobriety exercises. Romo mentioned previous back surgeries while performing the physical tests, creating immediate debate over whether his movements reflected impairment or an old injury. The most controversial moment came when he reportedly refused a breath test. His explanation suggested that he had previously been advised by lawyers not to take one. That decision may have been legally calculated, but publicly, it became another piece of footage for critics to examine. To some viewers, it looked like a man protecting his rights. To others, It looked like an attempt to avoid a clear answer. The report also described additional citations and an alleged open container discovered in the vehicle. Those claims intensified the story, but the legal process had not yet reached a final conclusion. That distinction matters. A citation is not the same as a conviction, and video clips do not always provide the complete context of an encounter. But television careers are often damaged before courts finish their work. Once the footage became public, the story was no longer controlled by Romo, CBS, or their lawyers. Every expression, sentence, and movement could be replayed, slowed down, and judged by millions of people. One night had created two separate battles: a legal fight over what happened on the road, and a reputation fight over whether viewers could still trust the man in the booth. The NFL world chooses sides. As soon as the story spread, the NFL media world divided into competing camps. Some voices argued that Romo had made a serious mistake and needed to face real consequences. Others insisted that one reported incident should not erase an entire career. A third group questioned whether the public was reacting to evidence or simply responding to the power of a viral headline. Former players became part of the debate. According to The Sample, LaShawn McCoy publicly defended Romo and suggested that the situation was being treated too aggressively. His position immediately created controversy because many viewers believe celebrity status should never produce special treatment. Supporters of Romo saw McCoy's comments as loyalty. Critics saw them as proof that famous athletes protect one another. Boomer Esiason offered a different perspective. He treated the situation as regrettable but predictable, suggesting that CBS would likely avoid saying much until Romo faced the legal process. His comments reflected the cold reality of network television. Executives often speak only when they believe silence has become more damaging than a statement. Inside CBS, unnamed sources reportedly described the matter as serious but not necessarily career-ending. That distinction became the center of the argument. Was Romo facing punishment for a single alleged lapse in judgment? Or was this incident simply the final problem in a longer decline? The audience was not only judging what happened on the highway, it was also judging fame, privilege, accountability, and forgiveness. Every reaction revealed a different belief about how public figures should be treated when their private decisions become public. And while former players argued on podcasts and fans fought across social media, Romo remained mostly silent. That silence allowed everyone else to define the story for him. And the longer it continued, the harder it became for him to take control of the narrative again. From genius to doubt. When Tony Romo entered the CBS booth in 2017, he changed the way many fans listen to football. He did not sound like a traditional analyst reading from prepared notes. He reacted with the excitement of a quarterback still standing behind the line of scrimmage. He identified defensive looks, predicted plays before the snap, and explained complex decisions in language casual viewers could understand. For a time, Romo seemed almost impossible to replace. His enthusiasm became part of the broadcast. His chemistry with Jim Nantz gave CBS a signature team, and his ability to anticipate plays made every major game feel more urgent. The former quarterback who never reached a Super Bowl as a player suddenly became one of the most important voices calling it. Then the praise slowly turned into criticism. Viewers began complaining that Romo talked too much, interrupted key moments, and relied more on excitement than preparation. The predictions that once made him special became less frequent. Mistakes received more attention. Every strange sound, incorrect name, or confusing explanation became another clip shared online. According to the Sample report, questions also emerged about whether Romo was doing enough homework before broadcast. That criticism was especially damaging because preparation is the foundation of a lead analyst's credibility. Passion can make a broadcast entertaining, but preparation is what makes the audience trust the person explaining the game. CBS continued defending him publicly. Yet reports suggested that network leadership had previously spoken with him about improving his habits and performance. That meant the latest controversy did not arrive on a clean record. It landed on top of years of growing doubt. Romo was no longer being judged only against other broadcasters. He was being judged against the brilliant version of himself that viewers remembered from his first seasons. And sometimes the most dangerous opponent is not a replacement. It is the expectation created by your own early success. The problem CBS could not ignore. Long before the Wisconsin story, CBS reportedly understood that its top NFL booth had become more complicated. Tony Romo remained famous, highly paid, and closely associated with the network. but the excitement surrounding his early broadcasting career had faded. The company could defend him publicly, yet it could not ignore what viewers were hearing every Sunday. The criticism followed a pattern. Romo was accused of speaking over Jim Nantz, losing focus during important sequences, and making references that did not always fit the game being played. Fans began questioning why an analyst earning one of the largest salaries in sports media appeared less prepared than commentators working on lower-profile broadcasts. The sample report describes a previous internal intervention focused on preparation. Whether that meeting was as dramatic as the word suggests, its existence would show that CBS had already recognized a problem. Networks do not hold serious performance discussions with their lead analyst unless executives believe the product is at risk. Jim Nantz's role also became increasingly important. A broadcast partnership depends on timing and trust. The play-by-play announcer must know when the analyst will speak, when he will stop, and whether the information will improve the moment. Once that rhythm breaks down, viewers can hear the tension even when nobody openly acknowledges it. That is why the latest controversy became so dangerous. CBS was not deciding what to do with a flawless broadcaster who experienced one bad night. It was evaluating a highly valuable employee whose performance had already become a subject of debate. The legal issue created public pressure, but the broadcasting concerns gave CBS another reason to test a different arrangement. J. Watt could now be evaluated without the network officially demoting Romo. If the new booth sounded calmer, sharper, and better prepared, executives would gain evidence they could not easily ignore. The leave protected CBS from making an immediate final decision. It also created a live audition for the future, the $180 million trap. At the center of the crisis was a number too large for CBS to ignore: Romo's reported contract value. The sample describes a long-term agreement worth approximately $180 million, with the deal extending through 2030. That contract was designed to secure a broadcasting superstar. During a controversy, however, it could become a financial trap. Firing Romo might satisfy critics, but it would not automatically free CBS from its obligations. The network would need to determine whether the reported conduct met the contract's definition of termination for cause without strong contractual grounds. Removing him could lead to years of payments, legal disputes, and embarrassing disclosures about internal decisions. Keeping him carried a different risk. CBS had to consider its reputation, sponsors, viewers, and the image of its NFL coverage. A lead broadcaster represents more than himself. He becomes part of the network's identity. Every controversy follows him into the booth and can distract from the games the company paid billions to televise. That left CBS with a carefully designed middle option: place Romo on leave, avoid declaring a permanent outcome, and allow the legal and public relations situation to develop. The network could show that it was responding without immediately triggering the most expensive possible confrontation. The wording of the announcement reflected that strategy. There was no detailed accusation, no moral judgment, and no promise of termination. The company created distance while preserving flexibility, but expensive contracts protect both sides only up to a point. Romo's deal may make him difficult to fire, yet it also increases expectations. When someone earns an extraordinary salary, every mistake becomes more visible and every weakness becomes harder to defend. CBS was not simply deciding whether Romo deserved another chance. It was calculating the price of every possible decision. In that room, reputation was important, but money, legal language, and long-term control may have mattered even more. J. Watt's golden opportunity. J. Watt did not create Tony Romo's crisis, but he may benefit from it more than anyone else. CBS had already been developing Watt as a broadcaster, giving him studio experience and opportunities to work on game coverage. When the network needed a trusted name, it did not have to search outside the building. Watt brings qualities that television executives value immediately. He is recognizable, respected, energetics, and connected to a younger generation of NFL fans. He understands defensive football at an elite level, and his personality has already performed well across interviews, social media, and studio discussions. Most importantly, he does not need to defeat Romo in a public competition. He only needs to perform well while Romo is unavailable. If Watt builds natural chemistry with Jim Nantz, explains defenses clearly, and avoids dominating the broadcast, viewers may begin asking why the arrangement should be temporary. Every successful game would make CBS more comfortable with the possibility of a permanent change. Every positive reaction online would reduce the fear of moving away from Romo. That creates an uncomfortable reality. Romo can fight citations, challenge legal decisions, and work with attorneys. But he cannot control how good Watt sounds in the booth. His greatest professional threat may not come from a courtroom, it may come from viewers discovering that they enjoy the replacement. CBS also gains leverage from Watt's presence. The network no longer appears dependent on one expensive analyst. Executives can negotiate future decisions knowing that another credible option is ready, even if Romo returns. The balance of power may have changed permanently. For Watt, this is both an opportunity and a test. He must avoid looking like a man celebrating another broadcaster's trouble. He has to earn the role through preparation and performance, not controversy. The chair may be temporary, but in television, temporary opportunities have a way of becoming permanent when the audience stops missing the person who used to sit there. Romo's silent fight. Tony Romo did not immediately hold a press conference or release a long public apology. Instead, according to the sample report, his response unfolded through actions. He reportedly contacted CBS soon after the incident, began working through the legal process, challenged part of the citation, and withdrew from scheduled public appearances. That strategy made sense from a legal perspective. Public statements can create new problems, especially when a case remains unresolved. Every sentence can be examined by attorneys, reporters, and network executives. Silence allows a legal team to control risk, but silence is much more dangerous in the court of public opinion. Without Romo's voice, viewers were left with body camera footage, unnamed sources, former players, and CBS's clinical announcement. Each group interpreted his behavior differently. Some saw a man responsibly stepping back while the facts were reviewed. Others saw someone hiding behind lawyers and a powerful contract. His withdrawal from golf events added another layer. Golf had always been part of Romo's public identity after football, and leaving those appearances suggested that he understood the seriousness of the moment. It also removed him from uncontrolled situations where reporters could confront him with questions. The legal challenge demonstrated that he was not passively accepting every allegation, yet winning a hearing would not automatically repair the damage to his broadcasting reputation. His career problem was larger than any single citation. CBS had to decide whether viewers still believed in him, and whether the booth remained stronger with him in it. Romo's path back would likely require more than waiting for the headlines to disappear. He would need to address responsibility carefully, rebuild trust with the network, and prove that his preparation and performance could return to their highest level. Meanwhile, every week of silence gives J. Watt more time, CBS more data, and the audience more distance from the Romo era. The fight is happening quietly, but the clock is making noise for him. Reputation, responsibility, and the final decision. Tony Romo's future now appears to depend on three separate battles. The first is legal, involving the reported citations and the facts that may eventually be established through the proper process. The second is corporate, involving CBS, contractual language, money, and the network's responsibility to protect its NFL brand. The third is personal, whether Romo can regain the trust that made him valuable in the first place. CBS has several possible paths. It could return Romo to the lead booth after a temporary absence. It could bring him back in a reduced role while giving J. Watt more major assignments. Or it could allow the transition to happen slowly, avoiding a dramatic firing, while Watt gradually becomes the permanent voice beside Jim Nantz. From a strategic perspective, CBS benefits from patience. The network can wait for more information, evaluate Watt's performance, measure audience reaction, and avoid making an expensive emotional decision. Romo, however, cannot rely only on his contract. Money may preserve his employment, but it cannot force viewers to trust him or guarantee that his old position will remain untouched. The larger lesson reaches beyond sports television. Reputation is built over years but can become unstable in one night. Fame does not remove responsibility, and accountability should not depend on a person's salary or celebrity. At the same time, one alleged mistake should not automatically erase a human being's entire life or eliminate the possibility of growth. Real accountability requires honesty, respect for the legal process, concern for public safety, and a willingness to change. It should never become an excuse for harassment, hatred, or celebrating another person's downfall. The best outcome is not humiliation. It is responsibility followed by meaningful improvement. Now the final question belongs to you. Press 1 if you believe Tony Romo deserves the opportunity to earn his way back into the #1 booth. Press 2 if you believe CBS should move forward permanently with Jay. What? Tell us where you are watching from and explain your decision in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Share this video with another NFL fan. And hit the like button for more breaking stories, deeper analysis, and the biggest drama shaping the league.